The galaxy is ancient. Civilizations have risen, flourished, and collapsed in endless cycles. Empires stretch across the stars, trade routes weave through the void, and wars are waged for resources, pride, and survival. In this ever-shifting cosmic theater, no star system is ever truly safe. Borders change. Worlds burn. Peoples are conquered. And yet, there is one place in the galaxy that no empire dares to conquer. Human space. It isn't the largest, nor the richest. Humanity does not field the most warships, nor do they boast the most advanced technology. On paper, there is no reason why their worlds should be off-limits. And yet, to the rest of the galaxy, human space is whispered about like a shadowed region on an old star map. A place marked not with treasure, but with warning. Why? Why is it that no one conquers human space? The first attempts came, as they always do, from ambition. The Krillians, a proud warrior species, once sought to prove themselves by striking directly at Earth's heart. They saw humanity as divided, fractious, and weak. A people of endless nations, cultures, and histories, forever in conflict with themselves. To the Krillians, this was a sign of weakness. They believed conquest would be swift. But when the Krillian fleet crossed into Sol, it did not return. The galaxy never learned exactly what happened. Some say the fleet was destroyed outright. Others whisper that the ships came back, but empty, their crews vanished without a trace. The Krillians themselves never spoke of it again. In fact, they erased all mention of the campaign from their archives, as if admitting it had ever taken place was too dangerous. The lesson spread quickly. And yet, arrogance is never scarce among the stars. Centuries later, the Velian Directorate tried a different approach. Unlike the Krillians, they did not attempt open war. Instead, they used infiltration. Subtlety. Their agents moved quietly among human colonies, seeding discontent, spreading whispers of rebellion against Earth's central authority. At first, it seemed to work. Riots broke out. Protests swelled. Even human leaders appeared divided, as if the Directorate's schemes were bearing fruit. The Velians were confident, until their agents began vanishing. One by one. Sometimes whole cells would disappear overnight. And then, one day, every last infiltrator went silent. No arrests. No broadcasts. No trace of their fate. It was as if they had simply been erased. The Velians abandoned their campaign. Publicly, they claimed it had never happened. Privately, their intelligence services refused to even speak the name human space. The mystery deepened. Over time, stories spread. Rumors. Fragments. Nothing ever confirmed, but enough to take root in the galactic imagination. Some claimed that humanity had mastered weapons beyond comprehension. Weapons so precise they could destroy fleets without leaving debris. Others believed humans had struck secret deals with powers beyond the known galaxy, alliances with entities no one else dared contact. And still others suggested something stranger, that humans did not fear war, because to them, war was natural. That their long, violent history had not weakened them, but prepared them. What the galaxy did know was this: no invader ever returned whole. And the humans themselves never explained. They did not boast of their defenses, nor display their strength. They let the silence speak for them. And in many ways, that silence was more terrifying than any weapon. It all came to a head at the Concordia Summit. This was a gathering of the major powers, the Nexus Prime, the Velian Directorate, the Krillians, and many more. They came together to discuss how to deal with humanity. Some argued that the humans should be isolated, contained, treated like a dangerous animal kept at bay. Others pushed for alliance, insisting that humanity's resilience was an asset worth cultivating. But as the summit unfolded, strange things happened. Delegates reported dreams that did not feel like dreams. Glimpses of human history played in their minds: wars, revolutions, triumphs, and tragedies, as if humanity itself was reminding them what they were dealing with. Some woke shaken. Others woke inspired. The result was unprecedented. Not a single power voted to move against humanity. Instead, the summit declared human space a sovereign frontier, untouchable by outside force. No one spoke of it openly. But in hushed tones, in corridors and private channels, the delegates admitted the truth: they had felt it. Humanity's will. A presence that defied conquest. And so the mystery only grew. Why does no one conquer human space? Is it because of secret weapons? Ancient allies? Some hidden defense network? Or is it something deeper? Something that cannot be quantified in ships or fleets? The galaxy does not know. But it suspects. And as centuries pass, the legend of humanity only grows stronger. For in a galaxy where every empire eventually falls, one question remains suspended in the void. What makes the humans different? If you've made it this far, consider this: humanity's story is not just about survival. It's about what survival means. What it costs. And why, sometimes, the most dangerous power in the galaxy is not the biggest fleet or the deadliest weapon, but the will to endure. So, what do you think? Is humanity hiding a secret defense? Or is the true answer something stranger, buried in the very heart of what it means to be human? This is only part one of the mystery of humanity's unconquered space. In part two, we'll explore the shadows of Earth's silent war, and the terrifying possibility that the galaxy's greatest fear is not humanity itself, but what might come after. In the galaxy's archives, human space is marked with silence. Borders are known, but what lies within them is less clear. Trade routes brush against the edge, but few merchants venture too far inside. Explorers turn back. Spies vanish. Invading fleets never return. It is as if the humans have drawn an invisible curtain across their worlds, a curtain no outsider dares to lift. But silence is not absence. Silence can be its own kind of warfare. And if part one revealed the fears surrounding human space, part two uncovers something stranger: humanity's war is not waged in open battles. It is waged in shadows. The Velian Directorate learned this the hard way. Their failed infiltration campaign, the one that saw every agent disappear, left questions that spread across the galaxy. What happened to them? Were they captured? Converted? Erased? No answers ever surfaced. But then, odd reports began trickling in from outside human borders. Velian officials were found dead under mysterious circumstances, their networks exposed, their secrets stolen. In one infamous case, a Velian governor gave a speech praising humanity's right to independence, a speech that contradicted everything the Directorate stood for. Hours later, he took his own life, leaving behind no explanation. Had humanity turned his mind? Or had he seen something that broke him? No one knew. But whispers grew: humanity was not just defending itself. Humanity was striking back. The galaxy began to sense a pattern. It was not fleets or armies that protected human space. It was something subtler. Delegations sent to probe humanity's intentions returned speaking in riddles, claiming they had glimpsed entire centuries of human struggle in a single dream. Mercenaries hired to raid human colonies often turned their weapons on their employers instead. It was as though humanity's greatest weapon was not steel or plasma, but the mind. And yet, the humans themselves never admitted to anything. Their leaders gave no speeches. Their admirals staged no parades. They simply carried on, as if survival was the only doctrine they needed. This silence grew louder when the galaxy discovered something unsettling. Hidden deep within archives of neutral powers was a record of the Harari, a species that had long observed the galaxy without interfering. Their scholars had charted the rise and fall of countless empires, watching history play out like waves upon the shore. And the Harari warned of something few wished to hear. They claimed that humanity's restraint was deliberate. That Earth did not expand recklessly, not because it was weak, but because it was waiting. Preparing. Watching in turn. And what unsettled the galaxy most was the Harari's final note. Humanity is not the end of the pattern. Humanity is the prelude. At first, few took this seriously. Another prophecy. Another riddle from an aloof race of observers. But then the ethereal collective made their move. The ethereals were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They were absorbers. They consumed civilizations, not by destroying them, but by folding them into their hive-like consciousness. Species after species fell, their individuality dissolved into the ethereal will. Resistance was futile against their endless, unified swarms. And when the collective turned its gaze toward human space, the galaxy held its breath. This, many believed, would be the true test. At first, it seemed inevitable. Ethereal fleets pressed against the border, overwhelming outlying stations and settlements. Their forces were vast, coordinated, and unrelenting. But then something happened. Not on the battlefield, but inside the collective itself. Reports emerged of fractures within the hive mind. Confusion. Conflict. For the first time in recorded history, the ethereal will was not unified. Voices within their collective consciousness began to argue, to question, to resist. And those voices sounded human. Some claimed the ethereals had consumed too much of humanity's history, too much of its defiance. Instead of dissolving humanity, they had absorbed its refusal to bow. And that refusal spread like a virus through their hive. The invasion collapsed. Not because humanity destroyed the ethereals, but because the ethereals destroyed themselves. The galaxy shuddered. If humanity's will could fracture even a hive mind, what else was it capable of? What force lay hidden beneath the surface of those quiet worlds? And more importantly, was this something humanity controlled? Or was it something deeper? Something even they did not fully understand. The Concordia summit reconvened. This time, there was no debate. Humanity was not to be contained, nor provoked, nor studied too closely. Instead, a new doctrine emerged among the great powers: leave human space untouched. Trade if invited. Speak if spoken to. But never cross the line unasked. Still, unease lingered. Because if humanity could break fleets without firing, dissolve empires without moving, and fracture a hive mind simply by existing, then the galaxy's fear was no longer just about conquest. It was about survival. The Harari's words echoed louder than ever: humanity was not the end of the pattern. Humanity was the prelude. But a prelude to what? That question has no answer. Not yet. Some believe humanity is preparing for a war beyond the stars, against a threat even greater than the ethereal collective. Others believe humans themselves are the threat, a species whose very nature bends others to their will, whose survival instinct is so deeply ingrained it reshapes the galaxy around them. And still others whisper that the real answer is simpler, and far more terrifying. That humans do not fear war because, to them, war is home. And no empire, no hive, no collective can conquer a people who have already conquered themselves. So the mystery remains. Why does no one conquer human space? Perhaps the galaxy avoids it not because of what lies there now, but because of what might awaken if anyone tries. And perhaps the silence around human space is not a shield. Perhaps it is a warning. If you've been following this series, you can feel it too, the sense that something greater stirs beneath the surface. The galaxy is afraid of humanity. But maybe, just maybe, humanity is afraid as well. Afraid of what it might become. What do you think? Is Earth simply waiting? Preparing? Or is the real secret that humanity has already stepped beyond the galaxy's grasp, into something stranger, something unseen? This is only part 2 of the mystery of humanity's unconquered space. In part 3, we'll follow that question to its end, and confront the terrifying possibility that the greatest danger is not what humanity is now, but what comes next. If you're enjoying this series, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, do you think humanity is hiding a secret plan, or is the truth stranger than any plan could ever be? Silence. It has always been the defining feature of human space. Empires roar. Collectives sing. Hive minds hum. But the humans remain quiet, watching, waiting, surviving. For centuries, the galaxy believed that silence was the mystery. That the enigma of humanity was the absence of noise. That no empire could conquer Earth because its silence concealed hidden weapons, hidden doctrines, hidden truths. But Part 3 asks a darker question. What if the silence is not concealment? What if it is listening? After the fall of the ethereal collective, the galaxy entered an uneasy calm. Borders stabilized. Powers rebuilt. Fleets reorganized. Yet beneath that surface, fear lingered. No one dared to challenge human space again, but everyone wondered, what comes next? The Harari scholars, those ancient watchers of patterns, offered no comfort. They reminded the galaxy of their cryptic warning, humanity is not the end of the pattern. Humanity is the prelude. And then, came the first signs. It began with anomalies. Stars, long catalogued and studied, were found extinguished, their light swallowed by something vast and unexplainable. Megastructures, entire Dyson spheres, built by civilizations older than memory, were discovered abandoned, their builders gone without a trace. At first, the galaxy assumed this was natural. Collapses. Failures. The slow entropy of time. But the pattern was too precise. Too deliberate. Someone, or something, was erasing civilizations. And it was not humanity. The name given to them was simple. The architects. Not conquerors, not invaders, not raiders. Architects. Beings so ancient and so patient that their wars were measured in millennia. They did not arrive with fleets. They did not fire weapons. They simply rewrote. Worlds became uninhabitable. Star systems became traps of geometry and light. Species disappeared, not in explosions, but in silence, the same silence humanity knew so well. The galaxy began to whisper. Perhaps this was what humanity had been preparing for. And indeed, humanity changed. Where other powers panicked, humanity grew stiller. They pulled their fleets inward, consolidating. They fortified their borders, but not as others did. Their defenses were quiet, invisible, like seeds planted in soil. And then came the strangest part, they began reaching out. For the first time in centuries, human envoys walked openly among alien courts. They asked questions about old ruins, about forgotten wars, about the deepest histories of each people. It was as if they were gathering pieces of a puzzle no one else could see. And slowly, the galaxy realized the terrible truth. Humanity was not silent because it feared. Humanity was silent because it remembered. The Harari broke their neutrality then. In a broadcast that spread across every known channel, they revealed what they had long suspected. The architects were not new. They were the old masters, the first engineers of civilization itself. Eons ago, they had shaped the galaxy, raising species up like clay, guiding their growth, testing their strength. And when those species reached a certain point, the architects erased them. Not out of malice. Out of design. Civilizations were never meant to endure. They were meant to serve as experiments. Data. Failed drafts of something greater. The galaxy reeled. But humanity did not. Instead, they began to speak, slowly, deliberately. Their leaders claimed that they had always suspected this. That fragments of ancient memory, myths, ruins, whispers buried deep in Earth's oldest histories, had told them the same story. And here lies the unsettling thought, perhaps this is why no one ever conquered human space. Because humans were never preparing for empires. They were preparing for the architects. The architects, of course, noticed. Where other civilizations crumbled, humanity resisted. Not openly, not in great battles, but in small ways. Architect constructs that attempted to overwrite human systems failed inexplicably. Worlds targeted for erasure remained intact. And more disturbingly, the architects began to hear echoes within their own designs. Echoes that sounded human. Somewhere in their long experiment, humanity had slipped the leash. They had not only survived. They had adapted the very tools of their would-be masters. And this leads us to the darkest possibility of all. Perhaps the galaxy does not fear humanity because it is strong. Perhaps the galaxy fears humanity because it is familiar. If the architects designed civilizations as drafts, as experiments, then humanity may be the first draft that refused to be erased. A broken line of code. A failed equation that learned to write itself. And if that is true, then humanity is not just the prelude. Humanity is the error. The one the architects cannot correct. So why does no one conquer human space? Because to cross that border is to invite more than war. It is to step into the unfinished script of the architects themselves. It is to touch the experiment that went wrong. And perhaps the greatest fear is not that humanity will be destroyed, but that humanity will finish what the architects began. The galaxy now watches in silence, just as humanity always did. Waiting. Wondering. Dreading. Are the humans defenders? Survivors? Or are they something else entirely, the first species to stare into the architect's design and say no? If so, then the war to come is not about territory, or fleets, or empires. It is about reality itself. The Harari end their chronicle with one final, haunting note. The question is not why no one conquers human space. The question is why humanity has not yet conquered everything else. And that is the final truth of the trilogy. Perhaps the reason no one conquers human space is not because they cannot, but because, deep down, they know that humanity is not the one being tested. Humanity is the test. What do you think? Is humanity truly resisting the architects? Or are we simply playing out a role they designed, believing ourselves free while serving their deeper purpose? Or, and this may be the most unsettling thought of all, did humanity become something the architects never intended, something even they fear? This concludes our three-part series on the mystery of humanity's unconquered space. If you've traveled this far with me, thank you. But remember, silence is never empty. Sometimes, it is the sound of something vast, something ancient, and something waiting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Do you believe the architects are real? Or is the true architect, humanity itself?